All righty. Any better? Any better?
Yeah, more. A little bit more, maybe.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. We good? Okay. Make sure the neighbors can hear. Ooh, that's a hard. Can't breathe hard. Alrighty, so as you guys know, Pastor and Gloria are on vacation, but they are coming back, I believe, tomorrow. So we definitely miss them, but glad to hear it. Every day seemed like it was a good day of weather over there. So, and I think they're in time for some decent weather here. But so we know that Pastor heard that this year is supposed to be a year for restoration, and I don't want to get off of this message. Again, you know, you need something in between it. But I don't get the pleasure to preach or to teach every single week. So I figured the few times I get to, I'm going to talk about restoration, to repair the breach. And I don't want to back off this. I hope you guys don't want me to either. And as I was finishing the last one that we did a couple weeks ago, God gave me this message. So I'm very grateful because I don't know. You know, Pastor doesn't give us an outline. Just says be led, which is good. That's what you want. But what I've noticed, though, you'll never have what is yours till you see yourself with it, whether it's a healthy life, marriage, job, if you're talking material needs. You won't even start till you see yourself with that. And you won't even get that thought to start to see it without the word anointingly preached to you, or to have the word revealed to you, whether it's through the Holy Spirit, reading the Bible, so on and so forth. Just kind of a quick example of it. You know, as you guys know, I'm in lawn care, and there's some pretty rough rigs driving around. Nothing wrong with starting, but a lot of these guys, they just have money, they just don't want to put back into it. I've read the Bible where we said they're supposed to be the head and not the tail. And I just didn't see that in the lawn care business very well. It seemed like we're the tail end of it. But I was blessed to meet a good friend. You hear me talk about him a little bit. And he had a way to operate his business and his equipment. It seemed like a good, godly way to go about it. And then guess what? Iron sharpens iron. And I'm very grateful for that. It's not something that I did. It's something I read. And then I saw. Kenneth Hagin asked God one time, good man of God, prophet if you don't know who he is, but he asked God, why are we not seeing these things, these miracles, these great moves of God? He knew what the will of God was, but he wasn't seeing it in his church and his life at the time. Do you know what God said? Check what you're preaching. And, you know, Kenneth Hagin's a pretty straightforward guy. It's like, God, he hit me a low blow. You know what I mean? He's the one doing the messages. And we hear a lot of people use the word preachers or preaching. But I just want to say this to you, that if you look into 2 Corinthians 3:6, God said that you are an able minister who has made us sufficient to be ministers of a new covenant, not of letter, but of spirit. For the letter does kill, and the spirit does make alive. So you're a minister of life. You have something to preach to other people throughout your life, work, transportation, or whatever. So it's not just what the preacher's preaching either, or what the pastor is. In Proverbs 18:21, the tongue has a power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. So put that in perspective. So again, you know, we're generally driving around towns and working, and we see a lot of delivery guys now, FedEx and, you know, and Amazon and all that. So we get close to some of them, and I kind of went up to one of them, you know, said, hi, how's your day was going? And he snapped. He's like, well, it'd be better if I was divorced. I'm like, whew, that's a rough one. You know, like, I need some help on that. How do you start with that, you know? I just simply took the life that I've gotten out of the preaching and of the Bible. I told him I still believe in miracles.
Right.
It's not just the healings and stuff like that. Those we need, we have to have it, but I believe in miracles. Now, I'll be honest with you, you know, he kind of walked away. He's like, yeah, my brother's mission, you know, works in other countries. And I was like, well, you know, I did what I was supposed to. I'm not going to lose any sleep about it. A few days later, again, I'm not saying that I was a corporate of this, but I hope that God's word helped him out. And he said, everything's a lot better now. He said, we talked about things, we got things settled. I didn't think just a nugget would do that. I don't know if you guys ever moved a floor jack or skateboard, but man, if you have a pebble-size rock, you're stopping on a dime. I mean, I don't care how big that thing is. And that's what God is, that small, still voice. He'll stop these plans of the devil on a dime, but will you put that something to stop these people? So again, we know the word preacher, but I actually, me, I like to figure out everything. I like to tear it apart. So it literally means to report down. I never knew that. I thought that was wonderful. So report down from where? From heaven. You're supposed to be getting whatever you're talking about from heaven. And another way to say it is to lay it out firmly, accurately, and in order. So let's lay it down tonight. So we know that we're the redeemed. We know that. Because what Jesus did, not what me, you, pastor, no one did. We're the redeemed because of what Jesus did. The plan that God has given him and has orchestrated. But we're not supposed to just stay the redeemed. If you look in Amplified Classic Romans 8:37, and this is one of the few few scriptures, and most translations are almost all the same. So it's a pretty good start when no one's disagreeing, from Lutheran, Baptist, Methodist, and all that. They're all saying the same thing. Amid all these bad things, we are more than conquerors, and we gain a surprising victory through him who just loved us. So when I see a lot of Christians, I see the redeemed. They didn't really do too much to get it. But I didn't really see a lot of more than conquerors with surpassing victory. That's what we're supposed to be. So I'm looking for motivation, I guess, right? I mean, if we're not doing something, we're obviously not motivated for it. And that's where God brought me to this. And this is not I don't think it's a standard, typical come to the altar message. And I do like those, but it's a little rough because I don't have a lot of preaching to listen to kind of back and forth with me. But have you ever had a bully in high school, or maybe a really, really bad ex, a crazy coworker that just made your life horrible? You probably remember a few amens. No, that's okay. No. You probably remember every single bad thing that they did, right? And you're just waiting for your chance. Now, this is before saved, right? We'll just say before you're saved, not now. But you remember that. Now, this isn't right. Once you get saved, you know what to do, right? We're trained right. That doesn't go for the devil. I spent time in Helen DeVos, going there more frequent than I would ever like to. But you see what the devil does to innocence. And, so I'll just stick on my notes. Well, have we forgot what he's done to us, to your family members? Because it seems like we're just the redeemed. Thank God we made it. But it wasn't supposed to stop there. Right. More than overcover is supposed to make you eat it. That's a surpassing victory. That's, Pastor talks about it used to be when we go to war, we take the spoils of it, but now we pay them and give them a tip. That's not how it's supposed to be a spiritual battle either. You can really go too far with this. Pastor jokes about how back in the day he wasn't like this, but people would be casting devils out of chairs, and I had a dark roast coffee, and they cast the devil out. Now it's a light roast, and so you can go too far with it. And the devil really can only do so much for what we allow him as well too. So I don't believe in just pointing fingers. Guys always joke and blame Eve for eating the apple, things like that. But the devil really didn't have anyone to blame. If you look at when God came down, well, why did you do this? Adam said Eve, and then Eve said, hey, it's the devil. And then the devil's like, there's nothing else. It was the devil's fault. If you want to get to the bottom line story. And that's why it says in the Bible, our battle's not against flesh and blood, which is super great to hear, really interesting to implement. You know what I mean? Because again, you can't be casting the devil off of everyone, because some of them want what they have. He's the one that hates good marriages. He's the one that hates good friendship, relationships, any type of wealth or health. He's the one that's against it. He's came up with all these illness. God never did. You won't see in the Bible where God did these things. Even when you go in the Old Testament, if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of the word, The devil is the one that implemented all these things.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get into further in that. He knows that if you know the truth, you will be free. The Word says it. And the truth is revealed knowledge of God's will, and through His Word and the Holy Spirit. The fact of the matter is that you are a child of God, and really, other than sin, yes, you got nothing to do with it. It's kind of being born into a really good family.
Amen.
You didn't really do anything. You're just kind of there. So if you really want to get payback, I do. I don't know about you. I really want to get payback. And I'm not vindictively towards people. Again, to the source. Go drop some lovely God words. I think about it kind of like a grenade in a bad situation. I was checking out one time, and this lady messed up. She's like, I'm so stupid. And my wife knows I'm not a big fan of someone doing that. I was like, you're not stupid. And I didn't preach a message or anything like that, but you're not going to call yourself stupid in front of me. I'm not going to stand idly by. As menial as it sounds, just kind of like with that one post office or whatever, the delivery guy, those are the real paybacks. Stopping it before it gets started. This is how you get, again, you can't be casting the devil off of everything. And isn't that how Jesus won the battle in the wilderness? I'll be honest with you, he didn't even rebuke the devil, which I think was interesting because, again, talking about those things, he just constantly said, it's written. Every single time there was an issue, it's written. He didn't even take his own authority, which he had rightfully as a son of the Most High God. He just simply said what God said. But let me tell you, one of the best ways is what God will do for you. And this will create this. So the title of this message, which God gave me, again, a couple weeks ago, is that He will give you beauty for your ashes. So if you'd like to, I would really like you guys to, circle this. I don't know if that's on or not. But let's go to Isaiah 61, verse 3. Sorry about that. So that's Isaiah 61, verse 3. To grant to those who mourn in Zion, to give them an ornament, a garland of beauty instead of ashes. And I'm just going to stop right there. There's a lot to this chapter, in that verse. That He'll give you beauty for your ashes. He will, not you. So, kind of the question is, well, how do you get ashes, right? I mean, there's a general way you go about it. God led me to bring out, and I wouldn't say there's only, but there's 3 types of burnable materials in your life. And the first one is what the devil has done or is doing to you. He will create the ashes himself. So there's 2 other ones. I don't think we'll get into any of those this time. And as you can kind of imagine, this would be gravitated towards is in the book of Job. It's a really solid example. So let's go to Job 1. And I kind of want to set the precedent down because there's a lot of confusion in the book of Job because I think it's a lot of life's questions, a lot of things. Even in the book, they don't even know when it was written. So I did some research for you guys. So this, put in perspective, was about the same time as like Abraham. So this is an old book, about 2100 BC is what they are estimating it. This is just me looking up. But we read the first verse. There was a man in the land whose name was Job, and that man was blameless, upright, and one who reverently feared and abstained and shunned evil because it was wrong. And there was born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. He possessed 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very great body of servants. So this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. So, first and foremost, it's pretty obvious, but if your name is in the Bible and it says you're a good and blameless man, you're doing pretty good. And I always like to do, a balance, and that's what pastors taught us. So just the very start of this, it just shows that this man is trying, he's doing good, and he's rich. And I want to bring out to this opposite gospel, it's like anti-prosperity, and you can go too far with it's all about money and things. But if he was a good man and he was rich, I guess having riches isn't bad. Just kind of clean, cut, and dry. It's easy to say that aloud, but people always, around here we always talk about Chicago people, right? Why can't it be Bangor people? Just getting real? I don't know what to say about it. So I did some numbers for you guys. So I don't know if you know, because again, I haven't recently checked the price of yoke of oxen. So a lot of this doesn't really jive with me. So I ran the numbers, and then this is what I do with my business. I hit about half to 75%. So this has actually got a 25% increase of what it could be. So just for the livestock alone, which is the primary, that would be like their stock or real estate, he's at 43 million. So yeah, he's doing pretty good. So again, you can add in a couple more. So this doesn't count servants. This doesn't count your day-to-day operational funds. Again, and this doesn't even, I don't know what this translates to, 2100 BC when you live in a desert. It'd probably be pretty good to have some camels. I have no idea. But just for what the going rates now, camels are like 15 grand. So if you want to go in camel business. But if I'm supposed to deliver the message, supposed to lay it out right, we need to know what we have in front of us. This is a good man. God has blessed him and kept him. People talk about the book of Job, of trials and tribulation and poor Job and stuff like that. It sounds like he's doing pretty good. And again, we know what happens later on. And some historians, again, there's a lot of speculations in this book. It wasn't a very long trial. We're talking a few months, maybe a few years. Again, a day is horrible when you're going through some of these things. So there was a day that the sons of God, the angels, came before God, and Satan was there. And let me just go right to it, actually, sorry. And he came forth, and God pretty much wanted to show off how good Job was, in my opinion, that he could stand against these things. So the devil said, "Put forth your hands, take it away now, and touch all that he has, and see that he won't curse you to your face." So Job's over here minding his own business, and this is what the devil wants to offer. So, of course, again, you guys kind of know the outline of the story, but first, destroyed was the oxen, and then as the servants were talking about how the devil came forth and destroyed the oxen, now the donkeys were destroyed, and as the servant was still speaking, you can kind of get the drift here, the sheep were destroyed, and then the camels, and again, same thing, and then his children at the last of it. This is all what the devil did. So now, this man that is blameless and righteous in his own eyes, and he does pretty well, and his business is crumbled, he has no family, he's left with nothing, he's in a pile of ashes. So you can say to yourself, on a different perspective, how could someone recover from this? If you were there, how could you recover this? We had a lot of loss recently, and then of course, we have all these recessions and depressions, and you can think about how am I going to recover from this? And I love what Job said, and let's go to 16:19, because this is how wise Job is. I'll take a quick break. You guys can beat me there. So this is him crying, and he does this a lot in this book. He's an honest man. So he's crying out, "Even now, behold, my witness is in heaven, and he who vouches for me is on high." This is even parallel in Romans 1:9. "My friends scorn me," so even his friends are talking bad about him now. "But my eye pours out tears to God. Oh, that there would be one that would plead for a man with God, and he would maintain his right with him as a son of man pleads with or for his neighbor." So what do you think he's doing here? So at the time of Abraham, he's asking for a Jesus. This is 2,100 years before Jesus, and he's praying for Jesus. He needs help. So he's crying out for something that we have now. The devil is the same, and so are we. But the only difference is that we have a covenant now with the Most High because of what Jesus did. In Hebrews 7:25 in Good News Translation, "And so he is able now and always to save those who come to God through him, through Jesus, because he lives forever to plead with God for them." So I kind of made a joke about Job here. I think you'd be pretty jealous if we ever had a flat tire. You know what I mean? We can call on Jesus now. We have a direct access to God for any mistakes that we had, for any attacks that the devil has done or will do. It's different now. But one of the main questions of Job, and I believe in life, and his friends argued, 3 friends, there's the 4th in the end, but he didn't really argue, he finished it. But the argument is why. I think we can all agree with this, and we need to learn from this wonderful book, but I couldn't see why. I never found it. I read it a few times, I read parts of it, more once, just couldn't figure out it. So what I learned from it is, what do you do during the trials? What do you do during the test? And what I've learned personally is the first steps of that test or trial is one of the most important steps throughout it. I remember I got in probably one of the worst reports I could ever imagine. I walked out the door to pray, and I felt like God said, strong, I mean, again, in my heart, strong as I could be the victor, not the victim. And you could tell in this generation, it's nothing but boys crying, and they're never going to get help unless they go to God. Jesus, the mediator that's always ready. But right after he lost everything, the first thing he did was worship God. Let's go to Job 1:20 through 22. So this is what you do when you have these, or if you know someone, this is how you get to be a more than a conqueror. This is right after all those things. I mean, his servants couldn't even get a breath out before the next servant came in to tell him about the bad news. After bad news, after bad news. And Brother Moore calls this the pile-up technique. You might be able to deal with maybe losing a sheep or two, right? But not your camels, not your kids, not your house. That's rough.
Right.
Then Job arose and rent his robe, tore it, shaved his head. This is a way to be humiliated and humbled in that time, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. He fell down upon the ground and worshipped. Man, I did a study on worship on that one, because worship can mean different things. Nope, that means what it says. Oh, he worshiped God. And said, naked without possessions, I come into this world, and from my mother's womb, naked without possessions, I shall depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord taken away. Again, I'm going to stop right there. So we obviously know, this is before this, they really didn't know what the devil was. Not to mention, this particular guy had a hedge around him, so he definitely didn't know the devil. That's a fact, because the devil couldn't get in. So this is Job saying this, so this is not the truth here. The Lord did not take away. Blessed, praised, magnified, and worshiped be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. That's what you do when you're in that trial. That's what you do when you talk to your friends or whatever. That's what you do. So what that does, it nullifies the attack of Satan. So any bully, terrorist, I mean real terrorists, they are always looking for a reaction. So what do you think happened when Job did this? You want to get back at the devil? Some people won't give up their ashes, the things that the devil has burned in your life. They want to hold on to it, whether, I don't know, misery loves company. I don't know, people love misery. I don't know what to say. It's not right. Give it to God.
Right.
Give your ashes to God. As weird as it sounds, they're yours. And they're not going to do you any well or any help to keep them. Your sorrows will just get worse and worse and worse as it goes on. Give them to God. So now we started with, He'll give you beauty for your ashes. So let's kind of get this wrapped up a little bit with Isaiah 61. So now we're going to finish that scripture, or that verse, sorry. Start from the beginning. To grant to those who mourn in Zion, to give them ornament of beauty for their ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of a heavy burden and a failing spirit, that they might be called the oaks of righteousness. Lofty, strong, and magnificent, distinguished in upright justice and right standing with God, the planning of the Lord, that he may be glorified. That's what will happen when you give your beauty. When you give your ashes, he'll give you beauty for those.
Amen. Amen.
And if you look into it, your messages should always flow together and with the Word. And he said that He'll give you, or you'll be like a tree planted by the water. In season, out of season, you're well taken care of. But obviously, there's a step for that, and that is to give those ashes up. So this isn't just about possessions, as you know. To be restored isn't just your house or anything like that. I mean, this is mirrored throughout your life. For anything that you've lost, that the devil took. So again, to wrap this up, or at least to unhitch for now, I want to finish up Job. I don't want to leave him there in the ash heap. So this is how Job ended his story when he did those things and worshiped God. 42:12, Job 42:12. And the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning. For now he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. So again, real quick, we're talking almost, he's getting up there now. He's doing really good. But that wasn't it. It didn't stop there. Again, this isn't just about material things, and you should have material things as a king's son. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters, just like he lost. And from what I can tell, he wasn't a young man when this book started. So, that's pretty amazing. And they listed out the name. I'm not going to butcher the name, so I'm going to skip 14, save face, and go to 15. And in all the land, there was no women so fair as the daughters of Job. And who can't want to have pretty daughters? You know what I mean? That's a blessing to the father. And their father gave them inheritance among their brothers. And after this, Job lived an additional 140 years. And he saw his sons and his sons and his sons, and even to 4 generations. Same thing. This is not a material blessing. These are things that a man would love to see past 1 grandson. To get to see 3 is hard. But 4? Yeah, that's a blessing. So Job died, an old man, full his days, fully happy. This is a blessing. This is what happens when you mess with a child of God. God's going to make you eat it, and you're going to get more from it. So every time the devil comes to you with something, just know for sure that if you do what Job did, and he prayed for his friends. I mean, we know that one. I didn't go into that one, but we know that he prayed for his friends, and that was directed from God. But every time he does something, know that, you know what, you're going to have to pay me back some more, at least double for my trouble. Beauty for your ashes. I want to end on this parable that Jesus said. So this is the Good News Translation, Luke 13:6-9. And I love this because I can't put this together. God's the one that did that. Jesus told them this parable. There was once a man who had a fig tree growing in his vineyard. He went looking for the figs on it, but found none. So he said to his gardener, "Look, for 3 years I've been coming here looking for figs on this fig tree, and I haven't found any." I don't know about you guys, but I went to church for a few years, and I probably wasn't producing any figs. But God doesn't give up on you right away, even for 3 years. So the owner said, "Cut it down. Why should we go on using up the soil?" But the gardener answered, so this is Jesus intervening on your behalf. "Leave it alone, sir. Just 1 more year." So for your lost family members, you can pray that. Just give them a little more time.
All right, come on.
And guess what? The owner of the vineyard will listen because of you. "I will dig around it." This is Jesus doing some work for you. "I'll dig around it. I'll put some fertilizer on it." He's doing extra work for you. He's not giving up yet. And guess what I found out? Ashes are one of the best fertilizers for roots, for trees. And if that tree bears figs next year, so much better. And if not, then you can have it cut down. So I know this might be a little bit shorter, but I didn't want to kind of go into the other building or the other materials to burn. I just want you to see that no matter what the devil has done to you, if you will give it to God, he'll restore you. So I love you guys, and if you guys, the altar is definitely open if you ever want to pray or anything like that.